I woke up in beast mode with my girl.
Everybody, welcome back to the Raw Cave Show. Zach Dean here, and we have special guest Brock Bowen, the Lifetarian, who's a radical transformation specialist and a good mate of mine. Thanks for joining me here, dude.
Good to be here, my man.
Oh man, I'm excited for this interview. I've got a whole bunch of really exciting questions.
Mm-hmm.
You and I met 6 months ago through a mutual friend, and literally from the first conversation, we're like, we have to work together.
Yep.
You've recently just had a kid, so you've got the most like a really inspiring family that I've seen. I've come and met you up in the sunny coast, and with your retreats around the magic momentum masterclasses. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
You are creating such epic work, and the community that you're creating is really inspiring, dude. So before we get into this, quickly share with everyone a bit about your story and what you're about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, right now I've got a son, 10 weeks old yesterday, and Taj Phoenix Bowen. I got a beautiful lady that I'm fortunate to run around the world and do these adventures with. We've been together 8 years in November. So I guess almost 8 years now. And just love that, like having a lady to ride with, navigate life with, and it's been such a contribution. And in terms of my journey, I've always seen myself as a bit of an entrepreneur. When I was a teenager, I had people working for me. And then like a lot of us, the noise of the world comes in, and, my family and different other people started to try and convince me otherwise of what I should do. And, in some ways I listened to that, in other ways I didn't, and tried to do the career thing in terms of other things and had success, but it never quite fulfilled me. And I always looked at that, I could go and I could get a job and I could be either the best or up there. And something about it didn't give me the element of creative control that I love. And I kept looking at that more and more, as I deep dived into stuff. I went, you know what? I need to look at my purpose. I need to look at my expression. I need to know, well, what am I uniquely here for? And what I noticed throughout that time, be it from year 6 and 12, I was school captain. At school, people would come up and ask me questions. As an adult, it didn't matter what job I was doing, be that working for, a high-level vitamin company. I used to work for Swiss Vitamins, and I used to work as a superhero. Actually, through Jamie, he hooked that up, a mutual friend of ours. And I literally worked as an entertainer, as a superhero. And these dads at the end of the party would come up to me while I'm dressed as fucking Batman. They would come up to me and they'd start saying, Brock, you seem to have a level of fulfillment that's rare. You seem to have something that I can't put my finger on, but I want some. And these guys would come up, they've got the multi-million-dollar homes, the jobs, everything. But they would come up and ask me these questions. And I realized that was part of my gift, that I had something to share, to contribute with people, and that I needed to explore that more. And so I kept peeling that apart. And then for a while, I had a organic fruit and vegetable business in Sydney. A big theme of my life has been when I'm having fun and when I'm playful, it seems very easy to create what I want. And so I had a mentor years ago, a guy named Peter Haggerty. He's a wonderful gentleman. And he showed up in my life and he kept saying, what is it you really want to do? What are some of the things you could express on? And this idea was birthed, which was to have an organic fruit and vegetable business. Because at one point I'd started getting into the vegan diet and lifestyle. And one of the most important things I believe, if you want to hit nutrition, is to actually eat the best food you can. And for me, the best food that I could find was organic and biodynamic produce. So I'd started to buy a lot of that. It gets reasonably exy. You buy enough organic fruits and vegetables, on a record week, I dropped $800 on fruits and vegetables. And so I looked at it and I went, well, okay, it'd be kind of fun. Everyone keeps asking me about what's this food that I'm sharing, all these different things. So I quickly put up on Facebook, Eagle Organics is launching. And I literally wrote Eagle Organics is launching, wrote it up on my Facebook wall. And literally the next day I had 4 customers. I went, I'm onto something. So I went down there, dropped $200 on produce, put the boxes out there, made a little bit of profit. Started to continue. And then found myself with a business partner. And when I got to that point in that business, that little tipping point, I actually turned it into something different. And I always look at that in my own life and in other people's life. When we're at a particular point, we can transform something into something greater. And, some people, it works for them to go and work as a coal miner from the time they're 17 all the way through to 65. For me, that's not living. And I always look to, inspiration like Leonardo da Vinci. You ask Leonardo da Vinci what he does, he won't tell you. He's an artist. It expresses in multiple forms. And, you know, even in navigating it now, often when I meet people, I won't talk about what I do. People are like, oh, it'd be so easier and clearer if you just talked about what you do. But what I found is once I've defined one thing that I do, everyone relates to you as that particular thing. And I went, well, life's a whole lot wider than that. I'm still going to say yes when I run the retreats. I'm going to be your transformation specialist, be radical about it. You know, I can run the magic momentum masterminds, but I believe each and every one of us goes a whole lot deeper with that. When we engage in presence and groundedness and giving ourselves space to explore and navigate, well, who we truly are and who we're not. That's a little bit of a snapshot. You know, I could talk for hours about myself, but I want to give you guys as much value as possible. So just keep hitting me with questions and
let's get into it.
Yeah.
Dude, that's totally it. It's that you have this kind of spark about you, this playfulness, this fun, this like great, this energy about you that's like really radiant. So like, it's interesting that that your story kind of embodies that. What is it about you that kind of sets you apart from other coaches or other people out there? What's the difference?
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is how I look at it. You can use magic, like stage magic. So say right now we use stage magic and you can set everything up to look like a particular way. And that works. That's strategy, that's process, that's all the things. They're all important. Then I look beyond that. The real magic of what I see is when you can embody the energy, when you can actually connect to the plants, the animals, nature. You can do processes such as Qigong, all these different things that your energy field's different. And rather than literally thinking, what is the next step? You just know what to do. And when I coach and mentor people, you know, literally a woman the other day, in 6.5, we did 2 sessions together. And then in 6.5 minutes, she sold her first $5,000. I'm always looking at what are those little things that are the huge things within people that we can transform. And once we do that, that noise gets out of the way, all the different things go on. And yeah, I see the world in a different way. I can see into the future of people based on the choices of what they're doing right now. I can feel what's going on for them. You know, I had that particular woman said to me, Brock, I would love to come to Bali retreat, but I don't have the time. And as soon as she said that, I knew it was the money. And so I'm willing to call people out. I'm willing to get honest with people. And it's by being intimate and vulnerable with myself. The more that I get into that, get intimate and vulnerable, spend time in my own space, get clear within my own field, the more of the gifts I have to offer people. And having said that, I'm not for everyone. Some people want different things.
That's an interesting point. So it's, you know, I was interviewing someone yesterday around masculinity and how masculinity's changed over the years and how, you know, men today are learning how to speak their emotions and stuff like that. And you said vulnerability for yourself. How does someone, men and women, how do they start to share that, their truth or their feelings? How do they start to do that? Because it's such a challenging thing. Because if we repress and suppress all those emotions, they kind of lash out and it's not healthy. So in my opinion, how do you start to become vulnerable and be comfortable sharing your emotions like that?
Yeah, for sure. I always look at it, start with ourselves. So the things that I always like to do is start to develop a relationship with myself. And I start to develop a relationship with my body. And this is literally like, this is some of the stuff I do every day. I wake up and go, good morning, body. How did you sleep? True story. And this is how I'm able to create some of the results that I do. It sounds different, but I literally talk to my body, get connected, and I'll scan my body up and down and I'll start to notice what's going on. And I always look intuitively, but also I look sometimes at other people's awareness around things, like in terms of what the different things are going on within our body. What I do as a daily practice beyond speaking to my body, I literally do it. That's fun. Wake up in the morning. Hey, body, how'd you sleep? Thanks for being there when I go skateboarding. The more that I do that, my coordination increases, my presence increases, my ability to have people show up in my experience. I can say someone's name and they end up at my house. And they live in Canada and I lived in Cairns. You know, that's the experience of what I've had by doing these tools. So it definitely works. And so I can go deeper in terms of that if you want, but ultimately in terms of the vulnerability, we all have these barriers of what we put up, these little protection mechanisms. We all do these things where I'm worried about what you think about me. I'm like, what does Zach think about me? What does he think about this, or this? And the more that I get into that, then I get so up in my head, I'm so concerned about everyone else that I can't actually do what the things that I really want to do are. And so I drown out my internal relationship with myself for the opinion of others. And one thing I learned to do a while ago is literally with all those barriers, and we can do it, you can do it right now too with me, Zach, and for everyone watching, grab those barriers, just look at them and just go, cool, is it okay to push them down just a little bit? I like to make it playful too. Push them down just a little bit. Just to down us a little bit. And I let you go like this and start to push them down. And I'll do that when I stand on stage. I'll do that when I run retreats. I'll do that when I do transformation sessions with people. And when my barriers are up, I'm not getting all the information, even though it might protect me. And it's an interesting one to go to, because as men, we've not really learned to be that intimate and vulnerable with one another, or with ourselves first. And, as a coach and a mentor, some of the challenges that embody in terms of that, I'll start working with some women as a coach or a mentor. And that starts to push the buttons of their partner. Because if you can be intimate with yourself, you can be more intimate with someone in 5 minutes than they've been with 20 years of being with their husband, or vice versa, that husband with their wife. We want to look at that too, because ultimately, such a beautiful thing. And, before we got on this call, you saw my son, 10 weeks old, just chilling. He's just there, he's just spacious and gorgeous. And if we can get even close to that in our lifetime, it creates a lot of space. But it's giving ourselves permission to care more deeply about what's important to us than what other people think of us. And it's a work in progress. It's not a let's get a magic bullet, let's pop it in, have it, and then it works. It's literally every single day a discipline to just care about time with ourselves. For me, practices including spending time in nature. Because when I go out to nature, I go hang out with the trees, boom. And I always think about that too. You see these tough guys that look like they've just come straight out of Compton. They look like they've just come straight out of jail. And they're covered in tattoos and they just look like they want to kill someone. But you see them at the beach and then they pick up a dog. What happens?
They melt.
They're just, everyone wants this. But the thing it takes is leadership. It takes someone putting up their hand and saying, I'm willing to be there. I'm willing to go there. And the more we do it, it's been an experiment for me to do it where I get up on stage. Years ago, to be radically honest about it, I'd get up and before I get up on stage, I'd pump my chest to get in state, because I was learning some of that stuff from personal development. Or we put a Band-Aid on terms of what's not working in our life. And then we go out to the world and everyone's like, cool, this guy's in state. He's confident, he's committed, and you feel it. But it's a Band-Aid. And I went, well, cool. What if we drop all that? We can still have access to that energy. We can still have access to the whole plethora of emotions and spectrum of everything, but ultimately come from a place of presence. And, for me, that's actually been one time when I jumped on stage, I was crying. Just jumped up on stage. I'm like, I'm crying right now. That's okay. I had some stuff going on with this, and this. And the depth of where I was able to go with that crew when I was engaged and speaking with them was different. And other times it's been me in an elated state where I end up skateboarding across a boardroom table in front of hundreds of people, because that's what I feel at the time. And that ability to trust and truly go for it, it's always been there. Like when you see kids 5, 6, 7 years old, they trust that. They don't think about how they're going to do something. They just do it. They see someone, they're like, hey, Zach, don't you walk up to you, hey, Zach, what's going on?
Yeah.
My dad doesn't have a beard. You have a beard. How long have you had a beard for? Like the most random questions. And I often find that too, even just dropping it into clients or relationships and everything, the thing that we most hide and don't want to speak about, it's literally the thing that everyone wants to talk to us about. And I've had so many personal instances of that, but I've also seen it so many times where you're there with your partner, you go, I really, really want to talk about this, but I better not, because it might affect the quality of my relationship. Just dropping in on that. There's been stuff I've talked to Christy about that's tweaked to buttons. It's pushed things, but we'll have those real conversations. And then the closer we get to one another. Whereas I've had other guys give me relationship advice and they've got the shittiest relationships you can imagine, because they don't have the real conversations. They just try and gloss over it or change their state or break the pattern, do these things instead of going, you know what? Shit's not working. Let's look at it different. Let's lean into it. Let's be intimate and vulnerable with one another. And be kind to each other through the process. And the more that I do that with Christy, and firstly though with myself and with different people that come into my life experience, it's wonderful. Because say when we met, Zach, you can come straight to my house.
Yeah.
There's
Very welcome.
Yeah, it's just, there's nothing to hide. I'm not going to invite everyone here. Otherwise, we'll have 8 billion people on the planet just dropping by my house. Hey, that experience of, cool, this is how I live right now. This is how I live right now. This is how I live right now. And rather than needing to look a particular way to be successful, I saw one of my clients yesterday wearing tracksuit pants, these gorgeous, brand new $20 tracksuit pants I got. He's a guy that's paying me great money to mentor him at the moment. And I'm literally wearing $20 tracksuit pants, shirt off, hat on backwards, stoked. And I see him with a group of women that I've literally just connected him with. I connected him and gifted him a ticket to an event. One of the women at that event saw him and they said, "You're a children's book author on positive psychology. I'd love to meet you." I just bumped into him just nearby to the house down at Cotton Tree, so not too far from where we live. And he's there with his books, with a group of about 8 women and kids. Now she's invited him to teach a private yoga workshop. That's the thing I love in terms of, touching on that. And again, in terms of the results clients experience, they get to live in the wow. They don't necessarily know how they're going to create the results, but the life experience of the people that I'm working with is way beyond what you could expect logically. And that's what I love to see people experience.
What are some other ways on getting grounded and also feeling more fun every day and being more playful?
Yeah, of course. Let's touch on the grounded one first. So the first one I would say, limit your time on technology. Yeah, limit. Thanks for watching this. But if you're watching this, go outside, take a walk while you're doing it, rather than sitting down in a chair indoors. Walk barefoot while you're doing these things. And I would say, I always recommend people 55 minutes a day in nature, barefoot. Go out and get in the cold water. I'm big into ice baths. I know you love that too. And cold showers, ice baths definitely help. Nurturing our bodies, like literally, it's fun as men too to be really kind to our bodies. And the cool thing too, the more you do this, you actually become more beautiful. And the fun thing is, the more that we drop all the old stories and narratives, our facial expression changes. All these different things happen. I've noticed. I've had friends that are in the future. Friends that in the future in terms of their age, they're 60 something years old and they're actually getting younger and using some of these principles. So getting grounded as well. For me, having a daily practice, be it meditation or qigong or climbing trees, whatever it happens to be, I always talk about drinking lots of water. It makes a big difference to our body. Less coffee, more water. Cheers. Lately, I've been getting really into loving the reishi and sugar. So they're medicinal mushrooms. They definitely really help me in terms of my nervous system. For me right now, zinc has been a really cool one too, just in terms of going through the whole thing in terms of nutrition and everything. Yep. But I get 1 or 2 sessions of body work a week. Wow. So right now, network spinal analysis in Bali for sure. I'm going to be getting all kinds of massages and stuff. And then one of the key principles I love too is blessing. So literally every day, sometimes every hour, I just get this energy of blessing myself, blessing the community, blessing humanity. When I'm working with clients, I'm doing this energy stuff behind the scenes that, we'll have the conversations, but they go, I feel like something was just going on there. I'm like, yep. And I like to do it when little triggers come up that keep me from being grounded, where I just flick the energy away. Just a little thing that I found to do. Yeah. So that's in terms of being grounded, and also just taking time to really just enjoy the moment. It definitely helps having a son, switching everything off. I do it at least twice a day at the moment, where I turn my phone off and I'll take a breath in for 7, hold for 5, out for 7, hold for 5. Do that 2, 3, 4 times and just drop in. And then I literally close the tabs down in my mind. I go, what's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? Like we would do on a computer. I close them down in my mind. And the more I do it, it's just, there's space. And when there's space, and then I've got my feet grounded on the earth. Like right now I'm barefoot in my outdoor office. Love it here. It's so good, like working from home and setting up the outdoor office. But then the breath. But then also, I would also, this is just going into other things too, specifically open up my crown chakra. So for the guys that don't know, we have a whole chakra system of what we can access. And you can command your body and your chakras to do what you choose. So many times we think we need someone else to do things for us, or we need a hand with stuff, and that's always appropriate too. But we have to know, in terms of our sovereignty, in terms of who we truly are, the magnificence of the being that we truly show up as, we can command all kinds of things to experience. And we need to remember that. So just selecting that energy being grounded, and works wonderfully. And also grounding foods. Bone broth we love. I was super high in the clouds on the vegan diet for a bit and loved it. But also, someone's like, just go and eat some meat, man. And someone's like, just go and eat some meat.
We learn about that in nutrition study. It's so important. Root vegetables, keeping you grounded. Not being too stimulated or too light and flying away with the clouds. Food has
it's fun.
Yeah.
Connect to the earth, like that simple thing. Root vegetables, connect to the earth, do the different things, and cold water or even the ocean or surfing really helps too. What was the next question? Grounded was one. What was the other one?
That was so good. Yeah, I love those tips. And then in terms of like creating more fun and being playful, you know, like with my own life, I know that there's certain times when I'm like super focused, and then it's like I might burn myself out and go, stuff this, you know, I gotta go chill out and I go to the beach and stuff like that, or I've got to create that balance. But, you know, today's world, a lot of women and men are focused on their goal and wanting to be successful, and then they kind of don't balance it out with being fun and playfulness. But I've found, as I've started to add more playfulness into my work, I'm more creative, I'm more productive, I'm getting to my goals quicker. You know, like, how can someone start being more playful and having more fun in their career and in whatever they're doing? Yeah,
literally, I've put this into my programs. I literally got brought in as a fun consultant on someone else's high-end program. So it definitely is a great question to be asking me.
Wow, perfect.
Yeah, I can turn everything into fun. Key is this. You got to stop judging yourself. It first comes down to that. You see comedians, rap stars, actors, if you get up on stage and you're judging yourself, you're just going to shrink. And the noise of everyday life, if you're sitting there and you're going, oh, I'm so busy, I have to do this, then the next newsletter, and then the next email, and then the next whatever the action is for your business, people feel it now. And so let's start off with, I always like 5 fun things a day. And for some people, I can literally do 55 things, 100 things, whatever. I can just make everything fun. I can just sit here and just go, cool. just get ridiculous. You know what I mean? I'm just there, like, just putting on my hats, having fun. But for some people, what you need to do, for you guys, get it out right now. Write down 5 things that are fun for you.
It's just choosing in the moment, isn't it? It's like you just, like, walking to the fridge, you could just do a little dance or something, or put some music on. Like, yeah.
That's the expression of what it becomes. And putting on music, having a dance, like with our little son at the moment, he loves Bob Marley. So we're having Bob Marley dance parties. Sometimes we'll get Instagram, we'll put little fun things on the top. So he's got little rabbit ears, and that's cool. But for some people, it's a struggle. They're like, fuck, I don't know what's fun for me. And people don't. That's why you got to build the relationship with yourself, like we talked about. And I would just go and say, write down 5 things you think might be fun, test them out. If they're not, write another 5, throw them out. And it becomes, I think since I was a kid, I've always been quite playful and mischievous. You know, I used to walk up to my nan, who, she was fortunate. She almost made it to 101 years, and she's still driving at 100. What a legacy. And, you know, with her, I would poke her in the leg and I'd go, you like that, don't you, Nan? And now, you know, in terms of my client work, a lot of that stuff is just seeing people for what's going on, calling them out on it, poking what's there, and playfully going, well, do you want to keep it or not? And it is that energy. But I always look at that too. Are you living life on your terms or someone else's? And are you in an environment where you can actually be yourself or not? A lot of people are not. You know, 80% of the workforce, they're not happy being there. And I've had it too. I've been, you know, in recruitment previously where I was amazing at my job because I had fun with the team. I had high expectations of what they did. We'd roll in for a shift. We'd have a cup of coffee. We'd have a beautiful conversation for the first 30 minutes. Then it was extreme focus. I'm like, I'm not talking to you for the next 2 hours. Go, boom. And the person that got the best results on the shift, once a week, I would take someone out for fun to go shopping with me, because I'd buy two new outfits every week. I was in recruitment, making great money, going out a lot. And I just buy new outfits to go out on the weekend. I need more outfits. and someone will get to come with me on this fun adventure. And we go skateboarding, we'd run around, we'd have a lot of fun. But what I found is this: the productivity levels of people went through the roof. The key is this: the key distinction is fun, not being a dickhead. So some people go out and have fun and then they push other people's buttons. You might be in an office having fun at someone else's expense. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that playful attitude, but when it takes time to have that extreme level of focus, then you can snap straight into that. And that joy, even if you're absolutely present and engaged with someone on that phone call, you know, say in terms of your business, Zach, or one of your businesses, if you're just being down at the beach and you're calling someone up to have a conversation with them, they can feel it.
Totally.
Like, they just feel it, and you can. I love it too. Like my jaw almost gets sore half the time here, just from that. It's not a cheesy grin. It's just like, life's freaking awesome. I just want to move around and have fun. So I would look at, well, are you living life on your terms or someone else's? Start writing that checklist of 5 things, and start to go, what is actually fun for me? And if you have no idea, go and find someone that has fun. There's a lady actually at Coolum Beach, not too far from here, every day. It's ridiculous. Every day she's having a dance party on the side of the road, headphones on, just, yeah, baby. And she's stoked. Some people think she's on drugs, some people not. You saw Chris Jackson before. You know, I showed you that video of the Burning Man event that Global Transformation Experience is one of the brands I'm working with. We have coming up. Like literally my business partner is making a career out of the most ridiculous fun ever. And he's getting some of the high level guys applying to come along to it. Yeah. Like literally guys have got multiple 7-figure businesses applying to come to his event. And at the same time, he's got people judging him.
Totally.
And if we start worrying about the people judging us, we stop having fun and we shut that part of ourselves down, which usually happens at about 7 years old. At about 7 years old, someone judges us because all of a sudden we've gone for this cute little kid that can do anything. And at 7 years old, we're like, we better shut that part of ourselves down. And we stop having the fun. We stop having the playfulness. Then we become 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and the annoying teenagers. And then some people you see, 20 years old, they're dead. 25 years old, the life force energy's gone out of them. Whereas, I love that I feel young and vital and fresh, and my mind can contemplate different ideas. And, we live in a fun time where we can have the time to have conversations like this, where we can invest in things that exponentially return, where we can literally have the space in our lives to have fun. So fortunate.
Can you talk a little bit about that 7-year thing? I think that's really important.
Yeah, drop in on that. Cool. So think about kids. I showed you my son before, 10 weeks old. And not a care in the world.
Just
Ollie's got
go.
It's go. And he gets so much love and appreciation. Yeah? So much love and appreciation. And then as he goes through, this is my thing. How can I love him more than I do right now? How can I appreciate him more than I do right now? How can I remember that when he's, 15 years old and bigger than me? He's already got I've got the muscles here and everything. We're just looking at his anatomy yesterday, and he's going to be a big
lats.
Yeah, he's got some lats already. He's a big, beautiful boy, and staying in that as kids come to it. And I look at everything rather than just looking through our personal life history and trying to heal that. That's something we've got to do. Forgive ourselves, forgive our parents, do all these different elements. But look at the children in our lives right now. And also look at those people in our life right now that we're judging. Those people, whether they're successful in a way that we're not, or they're having fun in a way that we're not, just drop the judgments and give people some space. If we can do that, it definitely opens up things for people. But I look at it with children now. Like when I was, when I was doing superhero stuff, just to touch in on a particular story that was big. I was doing a superhero party. Now, I believe I was Spider-Man that day. And I was there in a little private hall. And one of the games that we'd play after we'd do the initial show was hide and seek. And now there was a gorgeous group of boys and girls, probably 6 or 7 years old. And so I went and we went to play hide and seek. And so some of the people are counting and I'm going off to play hide and seek with these guys. And I hid with 2 or 3 young girls behind a curtain. And one of the mums who'd obviously experienced something in her life rushed out to where I was, ripped open the curtain and said, you know what? You can't do that because of her hurt. And in that moment for a second, I felt judged. Like, what's wrong with me? You know, those different things that come up, but I realized it wasn't about me. She'd obviously experienced something in her lifetime at a particular age, probably similar to these young ladies, young girls, 6 or 7, because these things do happen in our world. We got to look at that. How can we navigate it into the world so these things don't happen? How can we forgive those fragments within ourselves so that we can be kind to one another at all ages and allow people to have fully self-expressed lives? And it's a big contemplation to see, particularly raising a child. You know, particularly for me now, being a dad for the first time and contemplating that. What am I going to do in terms of educating this child? How am I going to navigate with vaccines? And I could talk about that too. You know, how am I going to navigate health protocols? If I have the opinion that I want to unschool him and grow him into being an entrepreneur, what if he wants to go to school? He might. And what if I want to travel the world and have adventures and this kid wants to chill and play PlayStation? It's all options, you know, it's just, and I always like to say that too, with our child. He's his man. He's not daddy's little boy. He's not mummy's little boy. He's his little boy. And giving him that sovereignty from a young age, giving him that space to express whoever he chooses to be. And when I've heard of examples in history before of people that have allowed their child the space to be who they choose to be, you know, the results are phenomenal. And so in the same way I've done in my own life, where I curate connections, where I'm very deliberate about the people I want to bring into my life and who's not in my life. I made a very deliberate and conscious choice about that. Coming back to the funding as well, same deal. You want to have more fun, hang out with fun people. You want to make more money, hang out with wealthy people. Can't keep it simple. But with that, I'm looking at, well, in terms of this young boy, well, I'm very keen to spend 90 days in China and learn from some of the Taoist monks around Qigong and herbalism and so forth. But what a cool experience to bring a son into that. When I think about the retreats, Taj and Christy are not coming on this one to Bali. But as this progresses further and we travel around the world, well, I already envision that I'll bring in different people. I'm literally getting paid to bring some of the most phenomenal people to the retreats, where my son will meet them as well.
Beautiful.
And, you know, future children. And at the same time, looking at, well, after that retreat, why not spend an extra 2-3 weeks in that particular location? Or 90 days. You know, I've got the full freedom and flexibility to do that. And yeah, it's just a fun game to play.
So then my question to you is, you know, with this idea of obviously, it comes back to an internal environment, having self-love, having maybe, you know, empowering self-dialogue. Do you believe in self-dialogue, empowering thoughts, visualization, self-love? Like, if you were to wrap all that together, how important is visualization in a dialogue and self-love? Yeah,
massive. Self-love and self-worth are huge things, and we're all working on it. I believe it's an evolution. And I've used tools like visualization. I believe they're relevant to some things and not necessarily for everything. If I look at, say in terms of my life experience, if I'm going to visualize all the particular things, you know, I used to do this, 10, 15 years ago, where I'd goal set and I'd visualize a particular outcome, be it a car or an investment property or something. You know, at one point it was speaking on stage with Dr. John Gray. I got to do it, like a lot of those things. And I'd hit my goals and, you know, write down a particular amount of money I wanted to experience. And I'd hit it, but I just feel like, not quite the same. And then I started looking at life as more of a quest. So I went, a question such as, what would it take to live the energy of my dream life? So I didn't put parameters on what that was. What would it take for my new dream house to show up? I didn't describe in terms of the visualization process what I wanted. But when I found it, I just knew. And it showed up and exceeded my expectations. So, I mean, there is a balance too. I'm just getting into freediving at the moment. In terms of freediving and surfing, it's really cool to stand on the beach and visualize and see ourselves as if we're already doing something. So it's been an interplay of those different things about, like I touched on a little bit before, like with fulfillment, going what works. But the biggest thing I sense in terms of the self-love is our internal narrative. That's massive. And how we're talking to ourselves internally. When we listen to other people, are we actually there? Or is our internal narrative pushing back against them? Is our internal narrative trying to fit that into the context of what we do and either taking it on or pushing it away, rather than going, that's interesting, and allowing our mind to get slippery. I always like the theory of the transcendence of our minds. So we can still be in this where there's like a little bit of mind stuff going on, but we can still be very deliberate about and specific about what we want to create, rather than having to meditate 4 hours a day and make sure we're clear all the time to actually be able to create the life we want. And so in regards to all that, you know, in terms of a daily process, let's just get in terms of what I'm doing right now. Sure. I wake up, talk to my body, and I get the energy of the day. So I'll start to, you know, bless and imbue the day. I do have a bit of a morning practice, but rather than a specific one size fits all approach now, I've got a theme called Start Your Day Powerfully. And I get into that energy of what I want to experience. Like literally before I get out of bed, I'm connecting to my day. I'm connecting to my dream life and just feeling my way into it. Then I'm expanding out bigger than the whole universe. So I just feel spacious and gorgeous and scrumptious and loving myself. And then taking time to journal, then taking time to go for a surf, then taking time to move, but really connecting to the energy of what I want to feel rather than a specific outcome or result. I still have mapped out clear intentions and goals. You know, obviously running a business and retreats, the team need to know, and for me to be clear on that stuff. I still, you know, running the Bali transformation experience. We've got a whole spreadsheet of all the different ideas and we can move those around. But when I do a call with people, you know, we've got different, just in case this goes out prior to, I've got a few surprises for the guys. But in terms of some of the things that are coming up, I get the feeling about it. And that's what I've been connecting to more and more. So yes, I'm using to a degree visualization. Yes, I'm using the internal narrative. Yes, I'm using different questions and so forth. But the thing I want to connect to the most is that internal knowing, that intuition, that guidance that just feels and knows. And if that's not available, back to the breath. If that's not available, cold water, time in nature, and presence. And actually, I want to touch on a little thing on the personal narrative. Can I share a story on that one?
Yeah, man.
So I went away. I've got one of my friends who he runs a project called Digital Storytellers. A lovely guy in Sydney, and he came along years ago, showed up in my life when I had that organic business. And we literally wrote down, we didn't visualize, we just wrote down our magic book and did a mind map of all the things we'd like to have in the business, but didn't necessarily have the resources for at that time, including a videographer. We're going to be so cool to be able to highlight and showcase what we're doing. We wrote that down in the magic book, all different things we would. 2 weeks later, this gentleman walks into the Vegan Expo, meets Christy. Next thing, he goes to our King's Cross market. And us, guys, I love what you do. Can I help out? Can I make videos for you guys? I'm like, yeah, that'd be awesome. We just literally wrote it down before. And after 3 or 4 weeks of doing that, we were giving him a box of vegetables. What he was doing in terms of video was probably a $1,500 thing. And we're giving him a box of vegetables, and he was more than happy. He was so stoked to be part of what we were creating, the energy of everything. And he became a really good friend. Like, he's one of my closest friends now. And, you know, I could dive a whole lot deeper in terms of that relationship and the spiritual awakening and so many things in terms of that. But keeping it relevant to the story, he does a project called Project Campfire. So when he has a new project coming up, or I have a new project coming up, we usually bounce it off each other. And just someone that I can talk candidly with and just get the feeling of the project. He'll call me out on stuff. You know, when I was launching another project, he goes, it's close, but that's not it. And you can just feel it. You know, he's like, yeah, it's not quite you, mate. And in terms of some of the stuff I'm doing at the moment, he's like, yep, that's good. So we did this project called Project Campfire, and we're literally away. And, you know, when you go along to an event and everyone's, you know, writing out their mission statement, all their goals and different things, I believe those things can all be important at a particular stage of our life too. But at this particular event that he ran, he asked everyone in 10 to 20 minutes, which you guys watching could do now, to map out the narrative of your life, or to map out a narrative of a story you want to tell. And the first thing that dropped into my mind, which is often the best thing for you guys, that first thing that pops in before you think about it, was I wrote down the greatest love story ever told. I went, greatest love story ever told. That sounds cool. Everyone else was doing things. You know, one guy there came up with Water is Life. If you guys know about Standing Rock, that was the huge thing. He was at this event I was at a couple of years ago. He ends up going over to Standing Rock, and that was the big thing around the world. And it was fascinating. But with the greatest love story ever told, we wrote that one down in 10 to 20 minutes. I claimed the energy of it, which means that I internalized it. And then I started to live that way. I acted as if it was already true. I started to be it until I could see it. And, you know, we ended up sharing an apartment in California when we flew over there with Dustin Love Thomas. We had an experience in Cairns where Christy was watching a YouTube video. And we also knew we had some Airbnb guests that had booked in from California. And 30 minutes after Christy was watching this YouTube video of some random people on the internet, they're at our house in Cairns and they live in California. How does that happen? And the more we dropped into this, like the greatest love story ever told, was like, and we started to follow that golden thread of what we really loved. And Christy won a competition called Carla Loves Photography. You know, she literally won this competition called Carla Loves Photography, which was a 3,000 euro photo shoot in Paris. So we flew from California over to Paris. We had the photo shoot. But the Airbnb we picked out of all the Airbnbs you could imagine was a woman's apartment with the same size clothes that fit Christy. And I'm not sure how you visualize that. and so that level of, well, some level, the universe is meeting us where we meet it. And I believe in oneness. I believe in the interconnectedness of everything and the alchemy of things. And the more that I drop into that space and connect in, well, everything shows up to support it. And if something's not working in my life, I look internally rather than externally to fix it. And so that narrative, I look at it and refine it. Now it's the greatest love story ever told continued. You know, the greatest love story ever told +1. And Christy and I, as we navigate our journey, we make choices together. We're at that point now where we've got a beautiful place where we're living. And now we're going, well, next, what's our new dream home? What's our vision for it? Let's get clear and start to feel that expression of what we want. And that's our next creation. We'll buy our new home. And it's just a fun one to play with. And so I could put a vision board up and visualize it and do different things. I've done that before. Christy's really into it. And some of those things are wonderful reminders. You know, if you want to get a new car or a new mountain bike, I think it's cool just to have it around because it's there in your mind and you keep contemplating it. But at some point internally, if we make a decision that we're going to have that, it'll show up. That's what I know. And if we think about all the different ways we can try and create that in our experience, it doesn't seem to happen. We seem to see the car everywhere. We seem to see everyone else having that holiday we've always dreamed about to Santorini or wherever it happens to be. But until we decide what we actually really want or choose it, fully commit, it doesn't seem to happen. So that would be my one to add in terms of that. Are you living a life all in, committed, or are you not? And until then, you're going to see everyone else living in the way that you dream of and think they're lucky, but it's not lucky. It's a choice. It's deliberate, and it's not easy all the time. But it's fun.
Dude, just the energy coming through this interview. I don't know if anyone else out there can feel it, but if you're paying attention and you're focused, obviously if you're driving and stuff like that, it's a bit hard, but dude, your playfulness and presence and groundedness, and then your ability to be real and raw and just like, this is how it is, and your conviction around it. This stuff works, you know, and this is what you're teaching with everybody. And this is why your retreats are so amazing. And this is why you're attracting such incredible people into your life. Quickly share with everyone a bit about what's coming up next for you in terms of your retreats, how they can get in touch with you. And then I've got
for sure.
couple of other questions just before we finish out. I know we're about to finish up, but I've got a couple of really exciting questions to leave everyone with. So yeah,
awesome.
What's next for you, dude, and how everyone can get in touch.
Yeah, for sure. What's next with me? I run an online program called M55, and I was just saying this before. M55 Mastermind. You know, I love working with people. I've now scoped it out. It used to be just 55 days. I've now maximized it to 6-month program, which includes a retreat, and it's just something so I can dive deep with people. That's my key offering. And then Bali's coming up in 6 days or 8 days until we launch that event. We've got a beautiful group of people coming over there. I can put it in show notes, but globaltransformationexperiences.com. In terms of finding me, it's under brockbowen.com. Then we've got surfstretchsummit.com, surf retreat coming up in Lombok, Indonesia. This is cool too. I just had a feeling I want to do one in Peru, and Chris and I have been talking about it. I go for a surf with the guys the other day, and Giro, who's a really good friend of mine, used to live in Manly. Did you ever meet Giro Taylor?
Haven't met him yet. So many friends have met him.
The sensei, he's a wise man. Anyway, I had a thought that I wanted to catch up with him in Sydney. 2 days after I arrived at the Sunshine Coast, I came back early. He arrived here and we convinced him to live here. So now he's one of my friends tonight.
Classic.
And so he invited us to go surfing the other day, and we're sitting down, having a coffee, about to go out for a surf, being very intentional about our day, which is powerful. Spend time with really powerful men and women. Spend time in nature on your own in solitude. That's so important. But there were 6 of us there. And the gentleman that was there, he just came straight up to me. And we didn't have enough cups, so I shared my coffee with him. But out of everyone, he goes, I just had the intuition to connect with you. His name's Diego. He used to own the Art Hub in Manly. I'm not sure if you know that place.
Yeah, I know that place. Yeah.
Him and his brother own properties over in Peru. He goes, I've got a property with the best waves in Peru. And I've got these secret spots we can take you to. And he literally starts talking to me about, at the moment, mummies, in Egypt, because I'm always living life as a quest. They're starting to bring up these mummies that look like aliens right now. This is the level of stuff that when people come on retreats, this is what I want everyone to experience, because this is the deep stuff. Like, who are we? Where did we come from? What's life all about? What is this human experience? People starting to talk about artificial intelligence and collective consciousness, all these different elements. And the more that I know, the more I don't know.
Put that on a shirt.
Put that on a shirt, but cool too. On that as well, brockbowen.com is where you can find me, or if you want to add me on Facebook, send me a friend request. I have to make some space, but if it's important to you, send me a message. If you want to connect in, let me know. I'll jump on a quick call and see where you're at. But in terms of the people that I love to come to retreats, you've got to want to dive deep.
Yeah.
I'm going to be present with you. I'm going to give you everything I have. And that's the only people I work with. Otherwise, they can go to someone else. There's plenty of coaches. There's plenty of mentors. I want the people that want the real deal, diving deep. And also the cool thing I give people too is I give people full permission to call me out on stuff. 100%. I'm not just playing the role of mentor. I'm playing a human being that's going through my experience too. And the more we come from that level of leadership, then there's so much more space. Otherwise, we put people in terms of a particular role in our society, and that gives them power. I look at, well, how do we all have that power? How can we all be leaders? How can we all love our lives and globally shift humanity? 1, for ourselves and our families, 2, for our community, 3, for humanity. If we come from that and bless that every day, the experiences that show up are way beyond what we'd ever expect. And what I've noticed too, my life goes way beyond my bank balance. I'm fortunate. Life's amazing. Great to make great money. But in terms of the life experience that I have, I'm coming up with this idea called Beyond Billionaire. Which is Beyond Billionaires. And you're literally deliberately creating the life you love, moment to moment. Cool. And that's how you showed up, my man.
That's it.
How I showed up for you. It's interesting too. We're both diving deep on the number 55, and we're talking about that, and you just getting it everywhere.
Much. Oh, dude, it's everywhere. So
there's 55 up the top right now. 748 755 464. There you go. Always, man.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding! On the Zoom link. That's This is nuts.
I don't know if you guys can probably not see that. I can snap a picture for you if you like, but it's for real.
Screenshot that.
It's interesting, right? And that's what I look at, like in terms of, people talk about the matrix and the coding and things and how things happen. I always like that, like in terms of accidents or co-creations. I believe that everything has a sense and a purpose. And the more we respond and pay attention to the present moment, rather than trying to put our idealism on terms of what we want as our life, but actually going, what do I really, really want if I dive deep? Because the stuff, have you noticed that for yourself too? The stuff you really want seems to happen.
That's it.
And the stuff you don't,
falls
away. Yeah.
So let's quickly. I know time's short, but I want to. Recently, I've been learning a lot about nootropics, learning about flow, learning about recovery and sleep and coffee and alcohol and how it all plays a big part in getting into our presence, into ourselves, into our body and stuff like that. I had a friend yesterday who did yoga for the first time in a year or so, and he just said, "Oh my God." After the yoga class, I feel so present for the first time in like a year. I'm finally in my body, and I feel so many people are distracted and they've got so much stuff going on, and they're maybe I know for me, I was definitely afraid of my own potential. I kept on learning and growing and failing, but it was just like I was playing small and I wasn't stepping out to really embody my true self and stuff like that. What fascinates me now is obviously purpose and mission and vision. And and flow. So talk a little bit about flow, and I know we've spoken a little bit about it dropping in and stuff like that, but are there any practical things people can do in terms of getting into flow every day?
Yeah, for sure. Again, spend time with people that you see in the flow. That is the first one. If you see people living in the flow, just invest in their course, invest in their retreat, or just go and invest in spending time with them. Buy them lunch, do something. Go surfing. Surfing's a great one. Get in the ocean. It's a simple thing to do, because one of the principles of flow is you're going to get challenged. That's the frustration thing. You have that in business, in life, on different projects. Everyone likes that thing in the flow where it's going easy. But if your whole life was like that, so boring.
Yeah.
And so that challenge before the flow, then I always look at, there's that flow space where you just know what to do. And then afterwards, the recovery. That's where a lot of people miss out on. So we don't structure in terms of our life, the recovery. Say in terms of your business, Zach, there's probably times where you guys do a 90-day launch and you're really onto it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't give yourself that recovery time, you're like, well, what am I actually doing this for? I've just got another job. I might make a little bit more cash than I did if I worked at Burger King, even though you probably wouldn't work at Burger King. but that thing is, you just create another job for yourself. You got to go, well, at some level, you have to design the structure for your life to flow. There's periods where you throw everything out the window and you just go for it. Then you go and you recover. Then you put a new structure in place. I'm looking at that at the moment within my own life. Like, what are the new structures that I want to have? Now I'm a dad. Now different things are going on. What are the most important?
Do you mean time management? Is that what you mean? Structures?
No, that time management is one thing. So say if you look at my phone, for instance, there's blocks throughout the day where I'm off the phone. There's, say in terms of I've set up a time to do this, then I've got a 2-hour block before I go and I'm going surfing, and then I've got a fire on the beach. Then I'll come back, have some time with the family and go and sleep.
Yeah.
In terms of flow principles, things I would look at, cold water every day. Drinking lots of water. You touched on nootropics. I've been really into glutathione supplements, particularly one called Celgevity has really been powerful for me. Lots of green alkaline things, less coffee rather than more. I've been testing it at the moment where I either don't have coffee or I have it about midday at the moment rather than in the morning, which we tend to do in Australia, but just leaving it a bit later. High quality fats are found for brain function are amazing. Mineralization is huge. Like if you're depleted in terms of your energy levels and minerals, it's hard to be in the flow. But I also find, like in terms of what I was talking about structure too, it's the energetic frame of how we set our life. So let's look at it. If you're the commander of what you do, you might jump into a new thing and you see people do this. Say you go and start a new project. Let's call it surfing, just because it's one that's on for me at the moment. Surfing and freediving are what I'm navigating at the moment in terms of flow projects.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would look at is just the simplicity of it. If you go and claim, now I'm a surfer, rather than I'm going to go try surfing, there's a different energy to it. That's what I'm talking. Yeah, in terms of that structure, we'll claim it. You can be and do everything you want. Claim you're a surfer, get the gear that goes with it, spend the time with the surfers, learn the language. Say in terms of freediving, literally the other day we started talking with my flow crew. We catch up on Tuesday mornings, and this group that Giro was fortunate to invite me into. Everyone wants to be in it, and I was fortunate I got included with this group of men they're phenomenal, man. Like just really high level in terms of what they do. And they're all living particular flow projects. Each of them has, one guy's the Breathe Project, Flow State Collective. Another guy runs retreats, Highline. Another guy's an esoteric acupuncturist. Another guy runs surf retreats. One of the best surf coaches on the coast. Another guy's got high vibration electrical. Like all these really high level guys in terms of what they're doing. Spending time with them every week sets up a structure for my week that's different. I get up at 4:30 in the morning, spend time with them, and it's different. So what I'm talking about in structure is not just goal setting or time management. It's setting the structure for our life that this is what I'm about right now. And if it doesn't fit this, don't worry about it. Say I'm coming down on my surfboard, you're in my way, get out of the way. Say I'm going for something in my business, you're in my way. That's not the place to be in right now. This is where I'm going. And not just being yang all the time in terms of it, but at some level, you have to command your life and actually truly, truly go for it. And I just see it with people trying surfing. It's not going to work for you. People trying business, it's not going to work for you. People trying speaking, you go and do it. Just go now. Now I'm going to be a professional speaker. Claim it. I'm doing it at the moment where, I know I've got to do more speaking. Now I'm claiming it, but rather than just claiming it and then I'm taking action. Sometimes it shows up for me where people contact me, and I'm quite fortunate in terms of that it just shows up externally. But now I've got the contact for the Wanderlust Festival. So I'm emailing them and having a conversation with them, emailing someone else. I've got other people scouting out for me. But it's that, in terms of flow, what I look at is, are you fully committed in terms of your life or not? And flow includes fulfillment, it includes fun. And it also includes, you think about surfing, includes cleaning up your surfboard afterwards. Includes like putting on a cold wetsuit sometimes. It includes, people always look at the time when you're on the wave. It's a fraction of it. But each of those elements before you go, puzzle. And before you get out on the waves, you sit on the beach. You just look at those waves. It's the same as even just talking to the ladies and the men there. Like in terms of making love, I always like to think of that because that's a beautiful flow experience where you're so present and so connected. What we often do is we're so worried about being judged, about people looking at us on our surfboard looking stupid. We're so worried about when we go to make love of like how we're going to do it. It becomes about the performance rather than the flow and the fulfillment. And if we actually slow it down, and I just like to use it as expression, like with the making love metaphor, instead of rushing, take it slow, relax. You got all the time in the world. Yes, someone's going to see you naked and you're going to see them naked. You don't have to hide it because it's okay. Rather than judging all these things and rather than looking at your life about all the things that people might judge you for, just own those parts of yourself. Because the more that we can own those parts of ourselves and not have to hide it, and it's okay. And then only different things start to flow. We're in the retreat business now. We've got Bali on, but while we're in Bali, we're going to do some speaking. We've got a videographer there. We've got a guy going and scouting out to find us the next retreat venue. And he's found one that he goes, well, cool, we could do one that's $55,555, and that's obviously a different clientele, but that's where Richard Branson goes to his retreats. And no one knows about it. It's these private places that start to show up in the flow, but you have to dive in. If you sit there, you can watch people, just looking at people going, oh, I wonder how they do it. And it's never going to make sense. And you look at the person, you go, if I copy that and I go skateboarding, or if I copy that and go surfing, if I copy their behavior or modeling, which is what's taught to us from traditional personal development, you get these cookie cutter people out trying to copy each other, but it's not quite the same. You don't feel the flow. You don't feel the presence. You don't feel the engagement. So each one of you guys, I want you just to look at that. Don't copy anyone. What is it uniquely within you that's a gift to the world that you can express? When you start to do that, that's when the flow occurs. Doesn't matter what you're doing. That could be speaking on stage. That could be surfing. That could be running a global enterprise. Or that could be working at Burger King. I've seen people work at Burger King or what's the other one? Red Rooster, that are so in the flow. When you see a 15-year-old at these particular places and they're showing up in the flow, what's ahead for them. What's coming up. What they're going to do because they're just so like, they're not saying, oh, I'm only working at Burger King right now. Otherwise, your whole life experience is never going to be enough. Otherwise, you always got to have more in your bank or more something else rather than, wow, this is literally this moment right now. This is it. This is as good as it gets. And if you can't enjoy this right now, I'd ask you why. Drop all that stuff again, fully commit and allow the flow to experience. It's not something you can force.
Nice. Like a fart, I guess, you don't want to force a fart. That's when shit happens.
Flow fart.
It's a flow fart.
Flow fart. But the best ideas come, when you get it with people. Or you're like, what else is possible? What else could we do? How will we put this in? How's this going to slot in? But you get it in your head. You're not in the flow. You can't think yourself into the flow. You can't force yourself in the flow. You have to be in the flow.
And all this makes so much sense. Hopefully everyone has been connecting the dots here. This is gold, man. Lastly, dude, any final comments? Anything you want to share with anyone? Anything that we've missed out? I know we spoke a little bit about EMFs. But did you want to touch upon that before we finish up?
EMFs, so we touched on that really briefly before we jumped on, is that limit your screen time. Like right now, we're watching a computer doing stuff. I just say to you guys, like when you're on the computer, fully be there. And this is something I'm calling myself out too. If I sit there always responding to my Facebook messages and doing those things, there's a lot of people around the world who message me, and sometimes I ignore them. And that's my prerogative. You know, I'm allowed to do that. It's my phone, my life, blah, blah, blah. You need to start caring more about yourself than you do about the rest of the world. Then you'll have more to give. And that includes time on the laptop. That includes your business. That includes everything. Because what I've noticed is this, particularly with some of my friends in the cities, they're both working full time and they might have a few extra toys, but life sucks. You know, when you're so working full time, you don't even have time to stop and make love. You don't even have time to dance around the kitchen. You don't even have time for everything. And people become so busy. And then what we learn is these productivity hacks. So we become busy doing all these other things. But what's the ultimate point in the first place? Like, let's get back to why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you on the computer all the time? Why are you trying to connect with people? Get so clear on terms of the why of what you're doing, and then go beyond the why when that's just what your expression is. When I can ask why about 17 times, and then I don't need a why to do what I'm doing.
Nice.
Then I know I'm onto something. I don't need a why to run retreats. I don't need to force myself to be on calls like this. There's no reason why I need to sit here and go, I've got 50 reasons why I need to do this. It's because this is where I want to be right now. And the more we can get into that, it's beautiful. So less screen time in terms of EMFs. I'm researching at the moment some Nikola Tesla technology around that. I'm looking up this device that looks like a magic wand at the moment. And, you know, when we caught up, we took you out to Tav's place, the pyramids, and it's a whole new world. I know some of this, if I was hearing this 10 years ago, some of the stuff I might have shared today might seem a bit crazy, but let's bring it back to key principles.
Sure.
Fundamental things I would look at. If where you are right now is not working for you, I would start to ask better quality questions. Like, what would I love my life to be like? What am I here for? Do I love what I'm doing, or would I prefer something different? And then start to get practical and logical about that. You know, and we said it with surfing. If you want to learn how to surf, go and spend time with surfers. Either find a friend or pay someone. And, you know, that's why I do retreats and mentoring. I can help people with this stuff. Journal every day. Start to journal. Start to connect to your body. If you want to have a conversation with your body, do it. Works for me. Test it for you. I've literally talked to my body, asked my body to show me where people are, and I bump into them 40 minutes later. And they could be anywhere in the world. So, you know, you can test it. It works for me. And spend time with high quality people. Let go of the people that are not working for you. Literally take your phone right now and delete 5 people. Dare. Just grab your phone out, grab your Facebook. I do it regularly. Just do a cleanse. If they really need you, they'll still find you. But it just means that you're not able to call them anymore, and it cleans out the energy. I'd also say, you know, start to be conscious about breathing. Like, it's one of the simplest things we have that no one can take away from us. You know, you can take away my clothes, you can take away everything, but ultimately, unless you're killing me, you can't take away my breath. Take a breath. Spend more time in nature. Have the real conversations with the people in your life that you really want to. Not the ones you think you can, not the ones you think you should, the ones you really want to. And the fascinating thing with this has been a journey for me, and maybe it's healed a bit being a dad, but particularly with my parents. Since I was a kid, my parents would tell me to be a little less stubborn, a little less intense, all those different things. When I worked in workplaces, people would say, be a little less Brock. And I'm here to say to you, I'm going to be as Brocky B as I can be, and so can you. But Zach, shine in all your brilliance, shine in all your genius, get up and do whatever's important to you. And there are things along the way that are challenging for sure. But if you ground in those daily habits, it's a whole lot easier, is what I found in my experience.
Beautiful, man. Oh, thank you so much for sharing this. This has been very grounding. Just hearing all this stuff, everything just makes so much sense. It's just, it's common sense stuff, but it's just, you portray it in a way that just makes it so easy to understand. So thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being here. I've been wanting to do this for so long. I can't wait to be on your podcast and to be doing retreats with you guys and come to your retreats. So,
you didn't have the dates available for Bali, did you? I would love to have you there.
I know. Next time. So for everybody watching, you would have seen the links pop up already, also in the description below, but get in contact with Brock. If you have any questions, reach out to him. He's got a retreat coming up. You've got all these exciting new projects coming up as well. you know, if you're in the sunny coast, go say hi to him. Go pop in. But obviously message him first. But yeah, I'm just so grateful for this time, man. I love this interview. I'm going to be listening to this interview over and over and over and over again. So I want to finish it off. Everyone who's watching, thank you so much. Like, share, comment, and yeah, if you want to share this with other people, send them the link. Share this on Facebook, and you know, this knowledge is really powerful. So we'll appreciate it if you share it out. It'd be great.
I got a quick dare for everyone as well, just to finish this up.
Nice.
I dare you to go and do 5 things, either make a video or just take a picture and tag us. So if you made it all the way to the end, just do it and share the video up with everyone so they know why you're doing it. Yeah. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. You completed something. Acknowledge yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back. And now, boom, and go, what's next? What else would I love to do? What else would I love to show up in my experience? Who else would I love to call? Because, you know, Zach wasn't in my life until, 6 months ago. And now we're tight. And it's a wonderful thing when all these different things come together. But if you see how those connections happen, it was always going to happen. It's just the thing, even that 5-5 up the top. Thanks so much for having me on today, man. Appreciate you.
Oh, dude, thank you. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Talk to you guys soon. Peace out.
Boom.